Nobody came to my graduation, not even my own family. 3 days later, my mom texted asking for $2,100 for my sister's Sweet 16. I sent $1 with congrats, changed the locks, and that's when the cops showed up. I never thought my own family could betray me so completely. But the moment I realized they'd skipped my graduation to go shopping, my entire world shattered, and it was just the beginning. The stadium was buzzing with cheers and proud parents, a sea of smiles and happy tears. But for me, the air felt cold, hollow, filled only with the deafening silence of my own phone. It's been 3 weeks since I graduated with honors, and I'm still trying to piece together that day. My name is Alex, and for 4 years, I absolutely busted my butt, earning an accounting degree while juggling 2 part-time jobs. Student loans only covered so much, you know? I'm 22, and honestly, for as long as I can remember, I've been the invisible one in my family. My parents had me first, then 6 years later came my sister, Chloe. And from that moment, I might as well have been a ghost. Chloe got everything she ever wanted, no questions asked. A brand new iPhone every single year, like clockwork. Designer clothes she'd wear once and just toss aside. Jewelry for her birthday, Christmas, and even random Tuesdays because my mom spotted something shiny at the mall. Me? I wore the same 3 pairs of jeans through high school and worked at a grocery store from the day I turned 16, just to have enough for gas. When I told my parents I'd gotten into college, my mom just said, "That's nice, honey." Then, without missing a beat, she asked if I could pick up Chloe from dance practice. When I tentatively brought up tuition help, my dad just looked at me like I'd asked him for a kidney. "Apply for scholarships," he said. So, I did. I got a few small ones, took out loans for the rest, and worked 30 hours a week at a campus bookstore, all while somehow keeping up with my classes. I never asked them for money again after that conversation. Now, Chloe's Sweet 16 was just 2 months away, and I'd been bombarded with updates in the family group chat since January. My mom had spreadsheets, Pinterest boards, even a dedicated Instagram account for the party planning. They were truly going all out, fancy venue, a DJ, a professional photographer, the whole 9 yards. I honestly didn't care about the party itself. I was happy Chloe was excited. But what absolutely gutted me was seeing them pour thousands of dollars into this event, while I was practically living on ramen 4 nights a week just to pay rent for the apartment I shared with my roommate, Noah. Noah and I had met freshman year in the dorms, instantly bonding over our mutual hatred for our floor's broken vending machine. After that first year, we decided to get an apartment off campus together, splitting a 2-bedroom place about 15 minutes from school. It was way cheaper than the dorms, and we actually had a kitchen, even if the stove only had 3 working burners and the bathroom tiles screamed 1987. My parents came to see it exactly once, when we first moved in. They stayed for maybe 20 minutes, and my mom spent most of that time on the phone with Chloe, talking about some middle school drama. Before they left, my mom insisted on getting a copy of my apartment key. She said it was for emergencies, just in case something happened and they needed to check on me. I thought it was super strange, what emergency would require them to just walk into my apartment? But she was so incredibly insistent, I just let her take my key to get it copied at the hardware store down the street. She came back 20 minutes later, an extra key jingling on her keychain. They lived about 45 minutes away, in the suburbs, close enough to visit more often, but they never did. A month before graduation, I sent a message in the family group chat with all the details, date, time, location, parking information, literally everything they'd need. My mom replied, "We'll be there." My dad sent a thumbs up emoji. Chloe even sent, "Congrats, bro," with 3 party hat emojis. I even followed up 2 weeks before, just to confirm, because deep down, this nagging feeling kept twisting in my gut. My mom insisted, "Of course, we're coming." Don't be silly. I wanted to believe her. God, I really did. Graduation day dawned on a Saturday morning in late April. The ceremony started at 10 o'clock, and I got there early, reserving 4 seats in the family section. I draped my coat over one chair, my backpack on another, my eyes glued to my phone, just waiting for a text saying they were close. The stadium filled up so fast. Families were everywhere, balloons, flowers, signs with their graduates' names. I watched other parents hugging their kids, taking photos, crying those happy tears. My phone remained stubbornly, painfully silent. At 9:55, I just moved my stuff, letting a random family take the seats. I couldn't bear the pitying glances from the people around me anymore. I walked across that stage, shook hands with the dean, received my diploma cover, smiled for the photographer, and felt absolutely nothing. Just a hollow ache. After the ceremony, I checked my phone, my hands shaking. Nothing from Mom, nothing from Dad. But the family group chat? It had new messages. My mom had posted 4 photos, timestamped about an hour ago. All 3 of them were at the mall. Chloe was holding up dresses in some expensive boutique. Everyone was smiling like it was the best day ever. The caption read, "Sweet 16 shopping day. Our baby girl deserves the best." I just stared at my phone screen, still in my cap and gown, while families celebrated all around me. They weren't stuck in traffic. There was no car trouble. Nobody was in the hospital. They chose to go shopping instead of watching me graduate. Noah found me 20 minutes later, sitting on the concrete steps outside the stadium, still wearing my graduation gown. He'd been at the ceremony with his own family, saw my empty seats, and came looking for me. After he took one look at my face and just said, "They didn't come, did they?" I simply handed him my phone and showed him the group chat. He read it, and I watched his expression shift from confused to pure disgust in about 5 seconds. "Man, what the hell is wrong with them?" he muttered. His parents came over, congratulated me, took photos, and his mom even shed a few tears, which almost made me completely break down. They insisted on taking me to lunch at a nice Italian place near campus. I barely tasted the food, just nodding along as they talked about how proud I should be of myself. Noah's dad, who worked in finance, even offered to get my resume in front of some people. These people, who had known me for maybe 3 years total, cared more about my graduation than my own parents who had raised me for 22 years. It was crushing. That night, back in our apartment, Noah and I sat on our beat-up couch, nursing cheap beers from the corner store. He asked me what I was going to do. I honestly told him I had no idea, but that something had to change. I couldn't keep being the forgotten kid while Chloe was treated like royalty. Noah just said whatever I decided, he had my back. I needed to hear that more than he probably understood. 3 days of deafening silence followed my graduation. No apology text, no phone call, nothing. I kept checking my phone like an idiot, stupidly, hoping they'd realize what they'd done and reach out. Then, on Tuesday afternoon, while I was organizing my desk for my new job, which started in 2 weeks, my phone buzzed. My mom's name lit up the screen. For half a second, I actually thought, this is it. An apology. I opened the message, and my stomach plummeted. "Honey, we need $2,100 for Chloe's party venue. The deposit is due Friday. You know how important this is for her." No mention of my graduation. No acknowledgement that they'd completely ditched me. Just a direct demand for money. I stared at that message for a solid 5 minutes, reading it over and over, waiting for a punchline that never came. I didn't respond. 10 minutes later, another text popped up. "I know it's a lot, but you just graduated and you're starting that fancy accounting job soon. We're so proud of you, sweetheart. Family helps family, right?" The sheer audacity. Proud of me? Like they'd been there? Like they'd watched me walk across that stage? I flipped my phone face down on my desk, trying desperately to focus on anything else. But the messages didn't stop. Over the next few hours, my mom sent 6 more texts. Each one piled on the guilt trip, escalating it further. She brought up all their sacrifices raising me, how they'd always been there for me, how Chloe looked up to me and would be devastated if her party wasn't perfect. That last one actually made me almost laugh out loud. I couldn't remember the last real conversation I'd had with Chloe that wasn't about her asking to borrow something. Around 7 o'clock that evening, my dad joined the text barrage. His message was shorter, but somehow felt even worse. Your mother is very upset. This party means everything to Chloe. We raised you better than to be selfish. Family comes first. Selfish. That word settled in my chest like a heavy stone. I had worked myself to exhaustion for 4 years, put myself through college, and on the one day I desperately needed them to show up, they went shopping instead. But I was selfish for not wanting to fund a party that cost more than 3 months of my rent. I opened my banking app, staring at my account balance, $847. Rent was due in 2 days. I had maybe $200 budgeted for groceries and gas for the rest of the month. My money was razor thin, just barely covering the basics to keep myself afloat. Even if I'd wanted to help, which I absolutely did not, I couldn't afford to give them $2,100. I couldn't even afford to give them $100. Noah came home from his shift at the campus gym and found me just sitting in the dark living room, staring at my phone. He flipped on the light, his voice gentle. "What's wrong, man?" I just handed him my phone, not saying a word. He read through all the texts, his jaw tightening with each message. "You're not seriously considering this, right?" he asked, his eyes sharp. I shook my head. I wasn't considering it, but I also felt completely paralyzed, unsure how to even respond. My entire life, these people had conditioned me to believe that saying no to them made me a bad person, a bad son, a bad brother. Noah sat down next to me on the couch and said something that changed absolutely everything. "Dude," he began, "they didn't even apologize for missing your graduation. They jumped straight to asking you for money. That's not family, Alex. That's manipulation." He was so right. The more I thought about it, the angrier I got. I opened the payment app on my phone. My hands were shaking, but I knew exactly what I was doing. I sent my mom $1. In the notes section, I typed, "Congrats on the party," and hit send. It felt petty, childish, and absolutely, gloriously perfect. The response was instantaneous. My phone started blowing up within 30 seconds. My mom called 4 times in a row. I didn't answer. Texts started flooding in, all caps, saying I was ungrateful, embarrassing the family, that Chloe would be heartbroken because of me. My dad called next, leaving a voicemail I could hear him yelling even before I played it. He called me a disappointment, said they'd done everything for me, and this was how I repaid them. Chloe even texted, probably put up to it by my mom, saying, "I guess you really don't care about me." By 9 o'clock that evening, I had 47 missed calls and over 60 text messages. Some from my parents, some from my aunt, who had apparently been dragged into the drama. Even one from my mom's friend from church, someone I'd met maybe twice in my life. The family group chat was an absolute disaster zone. My mom had sent a rambling message about how hurt she was, how she couldn't believe she'd raised such a selfish son, how I was tearing the family apart over money. I read every single message, and with each one, instead of feeling worse, I felt lighter. A realization hit me, I wasn't the problem here. They were. Noah watched me scrolling through the deluge of messages and calmly said, "We need to do something before this gets worse. They have a key to this place, Alex." That thought hadn't even occurred to me in my fury. But he was absolutely right. My mom still had that spare key, and judging by how unhinged these texts were getting, I wouldn't put it past her to show up here and make a scene. "We're changing the locks," I declared. Noah nodded, already pulling up locksmiths in the area on his phone. We found one with decent reviews who could come out that same evening for an emergency fee. It was going to cost me $180 that I really couldn't spare, but I knew it would be worth every single penny. the locksmith arrived at 10:30, a tired-looking guy in his 50s who didn't ask any questions when we told him we needed all the locks changed immediately. He worked quickly, replacing both the deadbolt and the main lock on our front door within 40 minutes. When he handed me the new keys, 3 copies total, I felt like I could finally, truly breathe again. Noah and I each took 1 key, and I tacked the spare into my desk drawer. That night, I blocked my mom's number, blocked my dad's number, and blocked my aunt, who just would not stop sending me Bible verses about honoring your parents. I did leave my dad's number unblocked on a different app, just one emergency contact method in case something genuinely serious happened, but I was completely done with the constant harassment. Noah ordered pizza, and we stayed up until 2 in the morning, just talking about everything. He told me his family had actually noticed how weird my parents acted at graduation, how his mom had wanted to say something but didn't want to overstep. I felt this rush of embarrassment that it was that obvious to everyone around me. Before we went to bed, Noah looked at me and said he was proud of me for finally standing up for myself. It was the first time in 3 days anyone had said they were proud of me, and I had to fight back actual tears. I fell asleep that night feeling something I hadn't felt in years when it came to my family. Peace. Just pure, unadulterated peace. That peace lasted exactly 12 hours. Wednesday morning, I woke up to my phone ringing at 7 o'clock. It was the apartment complex manager, David, a guy I'd maybe spoken to 3 times in 2 years. His voice sounded strained when I answered. "Hey, I'm really sorry to bother you this early, but there's a situation at your apartment. You need to get here as soon as possible." I was still half asleep and completely confused. "What do you mean?" "I'm home right now." David paused. "No, I mean outside your door. There are some people here claiming they're locked out, and they called the police." My stomach plummeted. I threw on some clothes and told Noah what was happening. We both rushed out of the bedroom to our front door. Through the peephole, I saw exactly what I had feared, my mom and Chloe standing in the hallway with 2 police officers. And, of course, about half my neighbors had their doors cracked open, watching the drama unfold. David stood off to the side, looking deeply uncomfortable. I took a deep breath, unlocked the door, and stepped outside. My mom's face was red and blotchy, like she'd been crying. The second she saw me, she started up again. "There he is, officer. That's my son. He changed the locks and won't let me in. I have medication in there that I need." It was such an obvious, pathetic lie that I almost laughed. She'd been in this apartment exactly once in 2 years and had never left anything here. One of the cops, an older guy with gray hair and a tired expression, held up a hand. "Sir, can you tell us what's going on here?" I nodded, trying to keep my voice calm, even as my heart hammered against my ribs. "This is my apartment. I rent it with my roommate, Noah. These are my parents and my sister. My mom made a copy of my key without my permission last year, and yesterday I had the locks changed. She's never lived here and has no legal right to access." The younger cop, a woman who looked maybe 30, asked if I had any documentation. I pulled up my phone and showed them photos of my lease agreement, which clearly listed only Noah and me as tenants. I also showed them the locksmith's receipt with yesterday's date and timestamp. My mom loudly interrupted. "That doesn't matter. I'm his mother. He can't just lock me out like this. I need to get my things." Noah had stepped outside by this point, ready to back me up. "They've never been on the lease. That spare key wasn't authorized by the landlord or by us. My name's on the lease, too. And I can confirm they don't live here." David, the manager, finally spoke up, though he looked like he wanted to be anywhere else. "I can verify that I have their lease on file in the office. It's just these 2 young men. Nobody else has ever been listed as a tenant." The older cop looked at my mom with an expression that said this definitely wasn't his first family drama rodeo. "Ma'am, Do you have any documentation showing you live here, or have a legal right to access this property? My mom's face turned even redder. She launched into a rant about how she'd raised me, how she'd sacrificed everything, how I was being ungrateful and cruel. Then, she flat out demanded that I at least give her money if I wasn't going to let her inside. That's when it finally clicked for the officers what this was really about. The female officer asked me directly, "Is there a financial dispute happening here?" I pulled up the text messages, my mom asking for $2,100, my $1 response, and then the dozens of harassing messages that followed. I also showed them the group chat photos of them at the mall during my graduation. They skipped my college graduation to go shopping for my sister's birthday party, I explained, my voice steady now. 3 days later, they asked me for money I don't have. When I said no, this happened. Chloe had been silent this whole time, but I saw her face change as I explained everything. She looked genuinely shocked, then deeply upset. The older cop sighed heavily. "Ma'am, this is a civil matter. Your son is the legal tenant. He has every right to change his locks, and he doesn't owe you access to his property or his money. You need to leave the premises now." My mom absolutely lost it. She started screaming about how I was tearing the family apart, how I was going to regret this, how I was an ungrateful son who had abandoned his family. My dad, who had been silent this whole time, standing slightly behind my mom, finally spoke. "You're making a huge mistake. Family is supposed to come first." The female cop stepped forward. "If you don't leave voluntarily, we'll have to escort you out and potentially cite you for trespassing." That finally got through to them. My mom grabbed Chloe's arm and started walking toward the stairs, but not before turning back to scream one more thing. "Don't you ever contact us again. You're dead to us." I looked her straight in the eye and said the exact words I'd been thinking since Saturday. "You already did that at my graduation." The cops stayed for a few more minutes, just to make sure they actually left. The older one pulled me aside and told me to document everything, keep records of any contact attempts, and call them if my parents showed up again. After they left, David apologized for having to call me, but said he had no choice once the police showed up. I told him I understood completely, and thanked him for backing me up. The next 2 weeks were absolutely brutal. My phone became a weapon of family warfare. Aunts I'd seen maybe twice in my entire life were calling me disrespectful and selfish. Cousins were posting on Facebook about how some people forget where they came from. My uncle sent me a 5-paragraph text about honoring your parents. I blocked every single one of them without responding. My new job started that Monday, and I threw myself into the work, so grateful for the distraction. A week after the police incident, I unblocked my dad's number for exactly 3 minutes. I sent him one text, explaining everything from my perspective. How I'd felt invisible my whole life, how graduation was the final straw, how I was just done being treated like I didn't matter. I ended it with this: "The door is open when you're ready to actually apologize and treat me like I'm part of this family, but I'm done begging for scraps of attention." I blocked him again before he could even respond. 3 weeks later, I got a message on Instagram from an account I didn't recognize. It was Chloe. She created a secret account because my mom was monitoring her main one. Her message made my chest tighten. "I didn't know they weren't coming to your graduation. I swear I didn't know. They told me you didn't want us there, that you said it wasn't a big deal and we should do my party shopping instead." I believed them. "I'm so sorry." We started talking after that, just the two of us, completely without our parents knowing. She told me things I'd suspected for years but never confirmed. How my mom talked about me like I was just a burden. How my dad never stood up for me. How they'd been telling her for years that I was selfish and didn't care about family. Chloe was finally starting to see through it all now. 2 months after graduation, I'm sitting in my apartment on a Saturday morning, sipping coffee that I can actually afford now that I have a steady paycheck. Chloe's coming over later to hang out. Just us. No parents, no drama. Noah's at the gym. My phone is blissfully quiet because I've built boundaries that actually protect my peace. I haven't spoken to my parents since that day with the cops. I honestly don't know if I ever will. But what I do know is this: family isn't just about who raised you or who shares your blood. It's about who shows up when it truly matters. And sometimes, the family you choose for yourself is far better than the one you were born into. What would you have done if you were me?